Why is it that people have a hard time working from home? Why is it hard to get things done? First and foremost, there's a really obvious level of why it's hard to work from home, and that is because when you're at work, someone is usually breathing down your throat, or breathing down your neck. Mixing my metaphors. So you have somebody breathing down your neck, and because of that, there's this sort of constant fear. You might not be worried about them spying on you, but there's just, you have to keep up appearances, your computer's supposed to have the right stuff loading on it. There's that. Like if you're a student, there's certain social pressures that make it really easy to maintain working. Like if you're in a computer lab and then you kind of provide social proof by doing work. So those are a couple of like the really gross levels, gross meaning unbelievably obvious levels of why you can get stuff done at work and not at home. So there's kind of two aspects to this that need to be addressed. The first one is going to be this, the really sort of classic leverage issue. You have to get leverage over yourself to make sure that you're doing the things that you need to do. And a really easy way to do that is to, one, fantasize about what will go wrong if you don't do the thing. Let's say what you're doing is you're procrastinating kind of all day, and then you freak out at night and you do the work. So you're not blowing deadlines, but you're not doing the work at an appropriate time because you sit down and work at your computer and you just kind of blow it and you procrastinate. And then you end up with this situation where you have to get the work done. So maybe you're doing weird stuff, like you're working at night on stuff you would never normally have to work at night on because you would get it done during the day at work. But this newfound level of freedom means that you kind of don't have to do it. And maybe the work is boring. In general, I'm going to assume that one of the big issues for making this switch and not doing anything is because the work is somewhat boring. With that said, how do you address that? So my number one way to motivate yourself, if it's like low level work, maybe actually if it's any work, but you know you have to do it, is to do nightmare fantasy situations of what happens if you don't do it when it needs to be done. So you put it off right now when it's the appropriate moment to do it. What could go wrong? Maybe your plan is to now do it at 8 o'clock at night after dinner. But what if your internet goes out? You get distracted by some other crap up until your internet goes out. Your internet goes out, you spend all this time trying to fix it, you can't get it fixed. It's too late to call a friend to go work at their house and violate quarantine land, so now you can't deliver on the deadline, you get fired. If you get fired, what else happens? You're homeless, you die. And then you put it in your head that if I don't do this, I'm homeless and I die. So one way. The second way, slightly more fun way, is to reward yourself for doing the work. So that could take on a ton of forms. It could be simply that you don't get lunch until you've done an appropriate amount of work, reached a certain deadline, or got a couple things off the to-do list. It could be that you don't get to watch YouTube videos. It could be that if you do this, you get to go for a walk. Any number of things. But basically, the stuff that you use to procrastinate, you turn into a reward for doing the things that you need to be doing. All of this works much better if you are super clear about what it is that you need to be doing at any given moment. If you can't turn it into a to-do, or if your to-do is an amorphous thing, like would be a good example. Design a website is a thing that sounds like a to-do and is not actually a to-do because it's got 70,000 micro projects that fall under the umbrella of it. If you set that as a to-do, you have no idea when you can stop or how to reward yourself. The to-dos need to be hyper actionable. They need to be a thing that if you told me what you had to do, I could visualize what it would look like when you were doing it. But if you tell me you're designing a website, I don't know if that means actually sketching. I don't know if that means programming. I don't know if that means doing visual research. I don't know if that means photo editing. I got no idea what that means. So rewarding yourself, it's really critical that you understand what it is you're doing and that you understand what the reward is. I do this for myself. Actually, I do it instinctively because I keep a to-do list of other things I could do anyway. So that way, I'm really pretty good about, let's see, my computer is right there. I'm really good about coming down here and jumping right into it right at 9 and knocking out whatever needs to be done, which then opens up time that if there's 10 minutes here or 20 minutes there, I can jump into some other thing and I can do something else that's fun, or I can just go upstairs and visit the kids or something. And I can do it guilt-free and without being stressed. Even what I'm doing right now from 4 to 5 is a reward for hustling on work to make sure that I've cleared up my calendar to where I can squeeze this in. And then on top of that, I have my email open. So if something comes up and it matters, I can jump right back into it. So that's another thing that you could do. The last one, happen on each of them. For harder work, I think it's hyper important to be very clear about what the thing is that you need to be doing now, or the first thing that you need to do in the morning. And I think one of the biggest forms of procrastination simply comes from not being clear about what it is that you need to be doing. So you're clear about what project you might need to do, but you're not clear on what the thing is. And because of that, it requires all this brain power just to jump into it. Design the website is a great example. What does that mean? So I'm a really big advocate, like, I haven't been working on music during the day, but if that were on my to-do list, the to-do list would never say work on music. You know, the to-do list for today said stuff like, write the description for this YouTube video. It said, shoot the intro for that video. If I were going to work on music, my to-do list would be like, review this song, or it would be play. Play would mean I get to start a new song and I don't need to worry about a deliverable. I just need to spend a certain amount of time screwing around. That's hyper clear though. There's nothing I need to do in that instance. It literally means at 9:30, grab the phone, make a new track, start loading stuff in, start messing with it. That's a to-do list. Work on music is in the to-do list. Work on music is a life goal. When you get into that mode of not being able to focus on the work, not being able to stick with the work, 3 reasons to procrastinate. Number 1, the thing that you're doing is so boring that anything else is more interesting. Number 2, it's amorphous. You don't have your head wrapped around it, so it's very easy to just kind of throw your hands up and do something else. And number 3 is you know exactly what you need to do, but you have made it so not fun that you're not doing it. That's the reason I think that people procrastinate on art all the time. Thing that they want to do, they want to do it, they've just made it suck. So therefore they don't do it. Maybe they've made it suck because they put this unfair pressure on themselves. Maybe they've made it suck because they have these attachments to whatever the outcome should be. Maybe they've made it suck because they're stupid, but they think their work should be smart. Any of that stuff could be a reason for it. And so hopefully that gets at it. But 3 really basic strategies. Leverage. You can use negative or positive leverage. I use negative. Works better for me. Reward. You can couple those 2 things together. And clarity. Really, all 3 of those are intertwined, but they can also just be very different animals and you can sort of decide. You know, you can make your rewards really basic stuff you would do ordinarily, or you can make your rewards incredible. Maybe your reward is like, if you get it done, you'll bring your phone with you, but you'll go play pool, or you'll go to happy hour, or you'll go, well, in this situation, you can't play pool. But if it was not Corona town, you could go play pool. So you have to think about Corona quarantining rewards that you could give yourself. Could be brave the Starbucks drive-thru.